For KDSJ Local Sports, Clayson Davis reporting as we turn the page over to basketball season. Of course, we have Black Hills State University basketball on the radio waves, but high school basketball coming up before we know it. And let's take a look at Spearfish Spartan Boys Basketball for the 2025-26 season. Head Coach Ben Schultz joins us on KDSJ Sports to deliver some preseason insight for everyone on the radio waves and on KDSJ-TV. Coach, we appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Excited to be back.
Yeah, the roads are icy. The temperature has dropped about 40 degrees from about 2 weeks ago. It is basketball season. What's kind of the preseason temperature you're taking of your team as far as people getting excited to hit the hardwood this winter?
Yeah, it's starting with tryouts this week. Speaking on the varsity, we're looking pretty solid. We bring back the core of our team from last year, losing Dylan Dorn and Haroon Khan, which are two big losses for us, but looks like guys are ready to step up and break out. So we're excited about the opportunity we have this season, and we're ready to get going.
The Spartans went 15-9 last season, had a Class AA state tournament appearance, and actually finished 7th, and beat Sioux Falls O'Gorman, which was the first time in a long time, if not maybe ever, that Spearfish beat O'Gorman in basketball. So with all of the postseason happenings that happened last spring, how does that kind of boost your team through the offseason in preparation for this season?
Yeah, I don't know if it really boosted us. If anything, it left us more hungry. We went into that state tournament, we go into every season where we want to win. We want to win that state championship. And, in the state tournament last year, we felt like we were a little outmatched with our first 2-round matchups with Lincoln and Huron, just with the size, physicality, and skill set. So if anything, we went into the off season with the same focus we had the year before, and that's to get better with our skill, get better with the weight room and our physicality, and also our basketball IQ. So in the off season, they really stepped it up on the focus part. The showing up part was still there. Still had great numbers all summer, guys. Really being consistent in the gym, and it's really showing.
And looking at your basketball team, you have a lot of multi-sport athletes. A lot of the same athletes we saw this fall for the football season will be on the hardwood for your basketball team. So as far as the offseason goes, Coach, how are your athletes able to balance in between preparation for football, preparation for basketball, recovering from the track season, and just balancing all their different training for their activities coming up this school year?
Yeah, it's unique to every athlete. Multi-sport athletes, they're usually doing multi-sports because they're highly competitive kids. And in the off season, Coach Teason and me work really closely to make sure that our stuff doesn't overlap. We try to put it one thing after another, so that they just have to give up part of their morning, and then they have their entire afternoon in the summer days to, go be a kid, go mess around, go to the lake, whatever it might be for their recreation, what they enjoy doing. But here at Spearfish, we really promote 3-sport athletes. We want them competing in other things. I think that helps them be a more well-rounded athlete. It helps them stay excited about the sport that they come into without, burning out. And really they have to make that decision on their own, whether, what level that is of commitment that they can handle, both physically and mentally. But I think across the board, we have some really competitive kids, and they want to compete no matter what the sport is, and that shows on the gridiron, on the golf course, in track, and also on the hardwood for basketball.
As head coach Ben Schultz joins us here with KDSJ Sports, here to preview Spearfish Boys Basketball. As you stated to previously, Coach, you only lost 2 seniors from last year's 7th place finish team in the state tournament in Haroon Khan and Dylan Dorn. So with a good core of athletes returning for your team this season, what are some of the expectations you have for your team for the 2026 campaign?
Yeah, our expectation, our end goal is the same. Like I say at the beginning of every season, our goal is to win that state tournament. And how we do that is having a goal of going 1-0 every single day. And you'll hear me talk about this a lot to media and also to our kids and to our parents, that, If we stay in the moment, we stay where our feet are, and we focus on where we're at with what reps in front of us, what possessions in front of us, what quarter, what half, what game, then the end goal becomes really realistic. So yeah, we have high expectations every single season. That doesn't change, but our focus is in the present.
Looking at some of the individuals on your team, you return Cade Vavruska. You also return Cooper Gibbs as your 5 as well. Ashar Hodges as far as some size on the inside returns. Also, you have your point guard Bennett Corton and Mason Southern, who emerged late last year, all return. Is there any other returners from last season's team that might see an expanded role?
Yeah, looking at some of our juniors, we got Carson Sire, who's a really good athlete. That's looking really good, so you can expect some big minutes out of him. You got Tucker. He was a contributor for us last year, had some good varsity experience, really good shooter, solid defensively, handles the ball well, doesn't make many mistakes. And you have Thomas. Yep, you saw him. He was the quarterback for us on the gridiron. I think he's taken some really big strides in his basketball IQ, and he's looking really good. So I think we have a pretty deep bench this year, where last year, just with some inexperience with having to play sophomores, we kind of had a shorter bench, but I think we have a lot more depth this year, and to keep some of those starting guys rested and still having really quality basketball on the court.
Looking at some of the underclassmen on this year's varsity team, who do you have that we may not be familiar with from last season that could emerge as a key contributor or contributors for 2026?
Yeah, looking at the sophomore class, we've been really impressed with Keegan Ozuna and Peyton Jones, 2 kids that also played football. Keegan Ozuna shoots it really well from the outside, has good feel for the game, doesn't force, and he fits really well in really whatever level he's playing in. He's been doing a really good job of pushing, our upperclassmen to be better every single day, and could carve himself out a role on the team. Can't say for sure how it's going to all play out. And then you have Peyton Jones, who he's really physical kid, good size, really athletic, starting to get a better feel on the block, and doing a really good job in practice, competing with, Cooper Gibbs, Ashar Hodges, and Sam Marcus as our bigs. So it's going to be really competitive to get into the rotation this year, and that just makes us better as a whole. Practices are very, very competitive here, and I don't see that changing in the near future.
As you look at your schedule for this season, a lot of games closer to home. You don't have to go across the river as many times. How does that kind of help you out as far as game planning wise, as some of these East River teams will have to come across the river to Spearfish this season?
Yeah, it's always an advantage to play at home, especially in Spearfish. We have great fans that show up for our boys and support them, and our girls as well. They have a loud environment. I love our gym. I think we have one of the best AA gyms in the state, for sure. The best environment in the state, in my opinion, but I'm a little biased. But I think a lot of people would agree on the environment part, especially last year in the Sodak 16 game against T. Just a phenomenal environment. Got so loud to a point where I can't even hear myself talk. Playing at home always gives you a slight advantage, but at the end of the day, we still had, 8 to 10 one-possession games last year, and they could have easily went the other way. We just happened to make 1 or 2 more plays in those games. If we drop any of those games, we're probably traveling for a Sodak 16 game, which makes it a lot tougher. So our focus is, we have to make sure we defend our home court, and no game is a giveaway game. We have to stay focused and bring the same energy and effort as we did last season as an underdog into this season with expectations.
And of course, you guys are also a part of the Black Hills Conference. You were just right there for winning a conference title last season. What does the Black Hills Conference look like in your point of view, Coach, and what the 2026 season could look like?
Yeah, I think, last season was what our Black Hills Conference was very, very competitive with a ton of really good teams. And I think it's a little bit, might have fallen off a little bit this year. Maybe not as deep, but the top teams are still really, really tough. Looking at, STM and Rapid City Christian and Hill City, those teams are still going to be really, really tough outs. A team that I have definitely on my radar is Makpealuta, young last year. Got some new guys in, and seeing them play this summer, that they're very dangerous, and that's a road game going down to their gym, which is a tough place to play. Just with they have a great environment and have a ton of support from the community there, so that will be a really tough game as well. But it's like I said, we're not overlooking anyone. We have to bring it every single game, especially when teams are going to use us as a measuring stick of where they're at.
And finally, Coach, what do you feel like are the strengths for your team and some of the expectations before you guys play Belfouche?
I think we're extremely competitive in practice. That carries over into games. What I see when we get up and down, when we play in the half court, is really, really competitive play. So when we continue to do that consistently, that's going to carry over onto the court during the games. I think we have good positional size with our wing players and a ton of athleticism. With some of those sophomores, starting to turn into some grown men. That's just going to make us more physical. We're athletic. We're fast. We're going to play fast. We play unselfishly, and hopefully we can put it all together and be a tough out this year.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thanks for the time. We appreciate you previewing the Spartans 2026 season and looking forward to seeing you and the team on the hardwood this winter.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.